Hey guys, what's up? We've got a pretty cool project in the shop today. It's a Beretta A300 Ultima. It's a patrol style shotgun. We're gonna do not too much gunsmithing on it, but we're gonna swap a lot of the parts out with some aftermarket stuff that's pretty cool. It kind of changes this gun around a little bit, makes it a little more cool factor. It's going to be an awesome patrol style shotgun or a home defense style shotgun. So stick around and check out some of the products that we're going to install. So get it out of the bag. Brand new gun. So start with something easy. The Berettas, the charging handles, have a small notch and have a small notch in them there. You can see that's for a detent, and fortunately for these, they just pull right out. So you just grab the factory one, give it a good pull, and it should come right out. The notch that we just talked about goes to the rear. You simply push it down in and it's good to go. So we'll save that for our customer. And the next thing I want to do is remove the recoil pad off the back of the stock so that we can get in and take the draw bolt out, because there's a thin spacer that we're going to take out of there and replace to do the side saddle for the shell carrier. So I'll put, just to keep from tearing the pad, I'll just put a little bit of oil on there. And these are pretty tight and they're long, so you're going to be doing this for a minute. The top one and then the bottom one, there's a small hole there, you'll see it. So we'll take that off, come back and show you what we do after that. So now you can see we've got the recoil pad off, and in the back of the stock there's a hex nut that holds the stock on. That's 13 millimeter. So we're just going to take a 13 millimeter, put it on there. It's going to be snug. Once we get that out, the stock will just slide right off. Now, we'll have, bounce that little nut out of there, little star washer. So we're good here, but we've got this little spacer that we're going to take off. We're not going to use it anymore. We will save it for the customer. But the side saddle has a replacement that comes with it that actually has a, it's metal, it's aluminum, and it actually has a threaded area for, or I shouldn't say threaded, it's not threaded, but there'll be a screw that goes through that for our side saddle. So we're going to put this back on and not the original spacer. Alright, so then all we do is just the reverse here. We'll put this back together and flip the gun over, show you the side saddle installation. So one of the things you want to do when you're putting this back together, leave the stock loose, because this spacer that we put in needs to move around a little bit when we're mounting the side saddle for the shotgun shells. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to take out the trigger guard pin, because we're actually going to replace it with a screw that comes with the side saddle. So we'll take that trigger guard pin out. This is the screw that is going to replace it. It's got a little washer there so it doesn't damage the other side, the finish on the right side of the gun. We're just going to push that through. What I do is I'll go ahead and mount the side saddle, and that is because I have that stock loose. Let me hold it this way so you can see. We're simply tightening that down. Had a little bit of blue Loctite on it, and I want to just kind of snug it but not tight. Then I'm going to come back to the spacer that we had. That one did not have any Loctite on it, so we'll put a little bit on there, a little much. And then that goes through our spacer that we installed. Get it lined up here, get it started. There we go. And we're just going to lightly snug this one up. Once I have these snugged up, then I can go ahead, tighten the buttstock, tighten these two screws, and then this should be a very solid platform. So we'll take that 13mm socket, stock down good, snug these two screws down there, the one on the side of the trigger guard, the trigger pin, and that is a very solid shell carrier from GG&G. So now all we'll have to do is put the recoil pad back on, and that part of the installation will be complete. We'll come back and talk about the handguard and the heat shield that the customer is going to put on. We do have just one other piece here. It's just a QD sling swivel that mounts right in the shell carrier. So, all right, I'll put the recoil pad back on and we'll come back and do the other end. Okay, so working on this end of the gun, we're going to use the smaller hex key that came with the shell carrier. There's two screws, one from each side on this barrel retention. Not retention, but support. So we'll take those out. They come out fairly easy. They're not usually in there tight. Of course, this is also a brand new gun, so that helps when you're making modifications that it hasn't been beaten down yet. And we're just going to set those barrel clamps off to the side along with the screws. We'll go ahead and lock the bolt to the rear. Then take off the cap for the magazine tube. Set that to the side. Set that spacer off. Factory handguard comes off. And you've got this guide. So we want to take the barrel assembly out. and we want to remove that. So that's going to go off to the side. Now it's a little bit tricky, I guess you would say, reinstalling the barrel. The handguard's going to slide in, and it's not going to go all the way to the end of the gas piston yet. We're going to slide the assembly and everything together. Now, once it's all lined up, we'll kind of pinch that handguard up into position. Let's see, then we're going to go to our nose cone piece. It slides in, and that actually will lock into the handguard. There's a little notch there that it'll lock into. There. Let's kind of compress that a little bit more. And that should run right up to the gas piston. We'll put this spacer back on into the magazine tube back on, but I'm not going to crank this down just yet because we have a heat shield to put in here as well. And there's going to be some screws that go with that. Some little tabs with screws that lock it in place. It comes with a little tool that I've never had to use to install this heat shield once the handguard's in place. I've never had to use it. Let's look at it now. Now, this comes with the Allen key for these two tiny screws, and then it has these little locking plates that I'll show you once we get the heat shield in place, how these lock it in. So again, the heat shield comes on and it will actually lock like so into the actual handguard that we did. And then this rear portion, this is where that little tool comes in, is in the back here. They'll snap down in. And if you look, we have them on the inside on both sides of the gun. So now I'll take one of these little tabs, and it has a hole through for a screw, and then it has a little tab that sits right down like that. So now it's fairly flush and our threads are exposed. So we'll take a little more of the blue Loctite. Take one of these screws. It's actually purple. Just snug. Go to the other side. Same principle. Where this little tab is, there's a tab on the back there that snaps right in. Gives us our threaded area where we can put our screw. And snap in. Nice and snug. Snap in the front on both sides. We're good. Tighten this nut down like so. We're going to put the barrel clamp back together. It's June in Florida. I got to fire up the fan. I'll be right back. We'll do that with a little bit of background noise. Okay, so back, we're going to do the barrel clamps, all we have left. We'll line those up. Get the first one started. And then we'll flip this over. Do the other one from the other direction. And again, even from the factory, these are not really tight, so you don't need to crank this down and put some Hulk force on it. Just get it nice and snug. Make sure it's not moving around. Function check the gun. Function checks nicely. And so there you have it, some pretty cool upgrades. We replaced that spacer, did this side saddle shotgun mount, 6 shells, put a QD sling mount on it. Then we changed around, did the GG&G Zukov handguard and heat shield. And we have a really nice patrol style shotgun that would be great for home defense or on patrol.